Some people think they can judge your worth just by looking at you. But what happens when the woman they underestimated turns out to be the one signing their paycheck? Stay tuned and let us know in the comments if you've ever been judged unfairly. Jasmine Carter stepped into Sterling Realty with a quiet confidence, her sleek black heels clicking against the polished marble floor. She wasn't here to prove anything to anyone. At least, not yet. Dressed in a tailored navy blue suit, her posture exuded the kind of authority that made heads turn. And yet, she could already feel it. The stares. They weren't outright rude, not at first. It was the micro-reactions, the quick up-and-down glances, the subtle shift in tone when she approached the front desk. She had seen it before. Too many times to count. "Hi, I'm here to see a few listings," Jasmine said, her voice smooth and professional. The receptionist, a young woman with blonde curls and a stiff smile, hesitated for half a second before regaining composure. "Oh, sure. Let me get an agent for you. What price range are you looking at? 2 to 3 million?" The receptionist blinked. That pause, that tiny flicker of disbelief was all Jasmine needed to confirm what she already suspected. But she kept her expression neutral, merely watching as the woman fumbled to grab a business card from the holder. "Pamela Whitmore will be happy to assist you," the receptionist said, waving toward an approaching woman. Pamela was in her late 40s, with impeccably styled blonde hair, pearl earrings, and the kind of practiced smile that could sell a dream to anyone who fit the image she had in mind. But as soon as her gaze landed on Jasmine, the smile faltered. Just barely. Still, she smoothed out her blazer and extended a hand. "Welcome to Sterling Realty. You must be Ms. Carter?" "Jasmine," she corrected, shaking Pamela's hand with a firm grip. Pamela's smile was polite but thin. "Of course. So, you're looking to buy in the 2 million range? May I ask what areas you're considering?" Jasmine noted how Pamela's tone was light, but there was an edge of skepticism beneath it. "Something in this neighborhood," Jasmine said casually, glancing at the wall showcasing photos of luxury estates. "I'd like to see the one on Kensington Drive." Pamela's smile tightened. Oh, that one's quite an exclusive property." "That's fine." Pamela hesitated. "We usually require pre-approval for listings in that price range. Have you already spoken with a lender?" Jasmine let the silence stretch just long enough for Pamela to squirm. "I can afford it," she said simply. Pamela gave a small, practiced laugh. "Of course, I didn't mean to imply otherwise. It's just, we have a few properties that might be a better fit. There's a beautiful townhome about 20 minutes from here. Very modern and more, let's say, accessible." Jasmine's stomach burned, but she didn't let it show. She had been in this game too long to let emotions dictate her next move. "I'd still like to see the Kensington property." Pamela hesitated again, then reached for her tablet. "Let me just check if it's available for a tour today." Jasmine folded her arms, waiting. She knew exactly what Pamela was doing. Stalling, looking for a way out. And sure enough, within seconds, Pamela let out a dramatic sigh and shook her head. "Oh no, it looks like that property is booked for private viewings today. Such a shame." Jasmine tilted her head. "Really? Because I called this morning, and they said it was open for viewings." Pamela's smile twitched. "Well, sometimes schedules change last minute, but I'd be happy to show you some alternatives in your budget." Jasmine's patience was wearing thin, but she wasn't here to explode. She was here to watch Pamela dig her own grave. "You know what?" Jasmine said, picking up her purse. "I think I'll pass." "Oh, are you sure? I mean, we have—" "I'll come back another time," Jasmine said, already turning toward the door. She could feel Pamela's gaze on her back, likely relieved to have avoided showing a multi-million-dollar property to a woman she had already decided couldn't afford it. As Jasmine stepped out into the fresh air, she exhaled slowly, letting the tension roll off her shoulders. She had played along long enough. Tomorrow, Pamela Whitmore was going to learn exactly who she had just dismissed. Pamela Whitmore had spent the morning preparing for what she assumed would be the biggest opportunity of her career. The Kensington Drive estate, one of the most luxurious properties in the area, was scheduled for a private presentation with a group of high-profile investors. The rumors circulating around the office suggested that the developer's CEO would be present, and if Pamela played her cards right, she could impress them enough to secure a long-term luxury sales contract. She arrived early, dressed in an elegant black suit, her platinum blonde hair pinned back in a flawless chignon. The estate itself was breathtaking, a 1,000 square-foot modern mansion with floor-to-ceiling windows, an infinity pool, and a marble-clad grand foyer. It was the kind of home that catered to the elite, and Pamela was ready to prove she belonged among them. As she entered the estate, she saw other realtors from Sterling Realty setting up refreshments, readying brochures, and ensuring every detail was in place for the big reveal. "Pamela," her manager Jason Reynolds called out. He was an older, graying man with a sharp suit and an even sharper business mind. "The CEO just arrived. We're meeting in the main sitting area in 5 minutes." Pamela adjusted her pearl earrings, squared her shoulders, and smiled. "Perfect. Who's the client?" Jason checked his tablet. "Not a client. It's the developer's CEO. They want to discuss long-term partnerships with top realtors, and you've been chosen to lead today's introduction." Pamela's heart soared. This was exactly the kind of opportunity that could push her into the ranks of high-profitable luxury sales. If she could impress the CEO today, she could finally cement her place as one of the city's elite realtors. The 5 minutes passed quickly, and soon Pamela was led into the sitting area where a small group of executives and investors were gathered. She immediately put on her warmest, most polished smile. "Good afternoon, everyone," she said smoothly. "I'm Pamela Whitmore, Senior Real Estate Consultant with Sterling Realty. It is an absolute pleasure to introduce this spectacular estate, one of the most coveted properties in the region." There was polite nodding from the group, but Pamela quickly honed in on the one person she had yet to acknowledge, the CEO, the one whose opinion mattered the most. She turned toward the figure sitting at the head of the table, preparing to extend her most charming greeting. And then her breath caught in her throat. Jasmine Carter. Pamela's body froze. Her mind struggled to process what she was seeing. Jasmine sat there calmly, legs crossed, wearing a stunning white power suit with a diamond-studded watch resting elegantly on her wrist. She exuded power, control, belonging. Pamela's stomach plummeted. There was no mistaking it. The same woman she had dismissed and steered away from luxury listings just a day ago was now sitting at the top of the table, surrounded by executives, watching her with an unreadable expression. Jason, oblivious to Pamela's internal panic, smiled at Jasmine. "Miss Carter, I'd like to introduce you to Pamela Whitmore, one of our senior luxury specialists," Jason said cheerfully. "Pamela, Miss Carter is the CEO of Carter & Grayson Developments. This entire project has been her vision." Pamela barely heard the words. Her vision. The words rang in her ears like a cruel joke. The woman she refused to show this house to wasn't just a potential buyer, she was the owner. Jasmine leaned forward slightly, resting her elbows on the table. Her expression remained poised, her smile polite. "Miss Whitmore," Jasmine said smoothly, "I believe we've already met." Pamela felt every pair of eyes in the room land on her. A bead of sweat formed at her temple. "Sorry," Pamela stammered. Her face was burning. Jasmine tilted her head, feigning curiosity. "Yesterday, right? At your office?" Pamela swallowed hard. Jason raised an eyebrow. "You already met?" Jasmine let the silence linger, enjoying the uncomfortable tension in Pamela's tight-lipped smile. "Yes." Jasmine continued casually. "I inquired about this property. I specifically requested a tour." Pamela's throat felt like sandpaper. Jason turned to Pamela. "Wait, you didn't show her this house?" Pamela's mouth opened, but no words came out. Jasmine didn't break eye contact. No, she didn't. She told me the property was unavailable and redirected me to a townhome in a more accessible neighborhood. The air in the room turned ice cold. Jason's face hardened. The other investors whispered amongst themselves. Pamela felt like the walls were closing in on her. She knew there was no way out of this. I didn't realize, Pamela began to stutter, desperately searching for an excuse. Jasmine raised an eyebrow. Didn't realize what? Pamela panicked. She couldn't outright say, I didn't think you could afford it. Jasmine's voice remained calm but firm. Didn't realize I was worth showing the property to? Pamela's face burned with shame. Jason exhaled sharply and shook his head. This is completely unacceptable, he muttered, pinching the bridge of his nose. Pamela felt her career slipping through her fingers. Jasmine smiled and leaned back in her chair. I'll keep this brief, she said smoothly. I believe in working with real estate professionals who understand the importance of inclusivity and fairness. If someone walks into an office, they should be treated with respect, regardless of assumptions about their background. Pamela felt sick. Jasmine turned to Jason. From now on, I want Sterling Realty's highest-end listings to be assigned to agents who are actually willing to show them. Jason nodded immediately. Absolutely. We'll be making changes to ensure that. Pamela's stomach dropped. Changes? She knew what that meant. The investors exchanged looks. This wasn't just an embarrassment. It was a public failure. Jasmine took one final glance at Pamela before rising from her seat. Thank you, gentlemen. I'll let you get back to your presentation. With one last nod, Jasmine turned and walked out of the room, leaving Pamela standing there, exposed, humiliated, and knowing she had just destroyed her own career. Pamela stood frozen as Jasmine walked out of the sitting area, leaving behind a room buzzing with whispers and judgmental glances. The air felt thick, suffocating. Jason, her manager, was still shaking his head, his disappointment hanging over her like a dark cloud. I cannot believe this, Jason muttered under his breath. You had the chance to make a high-profile connection, and you dismissed her like she didn't belong. Pamela's hands trembled as she smoothed her blazer, her carefully constructed confidence crumbling. I didn't mean... I don't want to hear it, Jason cut her off sharply. We'll discuss your future with the company after this event. For now, step aside. Someone else will be handling this showing. Pamela felt her heart plummet to her stomach. She had spent years cultivating her reputation as a top luxury agent, building relationships, crafting the perfect image of success, only to lose it all in a matter of seconds. She turned, her legs feeling like lead, and walked toward the hallway, her mind racing for some kind of solution, some kind of way to fix this. But deep down she already knew there was no fixing it. Jasmine wasn't done yet. She stepped outside the estate, inhaling deeply as she let the moment settle in. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about proving anything to Pamela. It was about making a statement. A statement that she belonged, that people like her belonged. She had spent too many years fighting to be seen in spaces that should have welcomed her without question. As a black woman in the real estate industry, she had learned early on that people often judged before they knew who she was. They saw her skin before they saw her credentials. But today, the tables had turned. She walked toward the expansive balcony overlooking the estate's infinity pool, where a few investors had stepped outside to take in the view, the very same view she had been denied yesterday. This time, no one questioned whether she should be there. Her business partner, Elliot Grayson, approached her, grinning. That was one hell of a moment back there, he said, taking a sip of his drink. You handled it like a damn queen. Jasmine chuckled, shaking her head. I didn't need to yell, didn't need to cause a scene. I let her destroy herself. Elliot smirked. And that's the best kind of karma. A soft breeze rolled over the property, making the pristine water below shimmer. Jasmine knew this wasn't just a personal victory, it was bigger than that. She turned to Elliot. Let's finalize the paperwork. You're making the purchase official? Jasmine smiled. Oh, I'm not just buying the property, Elliot. I'm taking over the entire deal. Elliot's eyebrows shot up, impressed. So you're cutting Sterling Realty out completely? They can keep their small commission from previous contracts. But moving forward? Jasmine turned, glancing back toward the house. I'll be selecting my own agents for these listings, ones who actually respect their buyers. Elliot grinned, raising his glass. To new beginnings. Jasmine clinked her glass against his. To doing things our way. Inside, Pamela's panic had escalated into desperation. She had spent too long climbing the ranks to lose everything now. She had to speak to Jasmine, had to fix this somehow. She found Jasmine just as she was leaving the balcony area, her posture as poised as ever. Taking a deep breath, Pamela hurried forward, blocking Jasmine's path. Miss Carter? Pamela began quickly, forcing a smile that felt foreign even to her. If I could just have a moment of your time? Jasmine stopped, tilting her head slightly. You already had a moment of my time, Miss Whitmore. Pamela swallowed hard. I just want to apologize, she said, her voice rushing. I made a mistake, and I deeply regret getting caught. Pamela's mouth clamped shut. Jasmine held her gaze, unwavering. If you hadn't recognized me today, would you have apologized? Or would you have gone about your day dismissing someone else the same way? Pamela felt her chest tighten. I was just following standard protocol. Jasmine's laugh was soft but sharp. Standard protocol? She repeated. Your protocol was to decide within seconds that I didn't belong in a home like this. You sent me somewhere else. And for what? To protect an image? Pamela's hands clenched at her sides. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. The silence that followed was deafening. Pamela's face burned with humiliation, but before she could utter another excuse, Jasmine leaned in slightly, her voice low but firm. You don't have to worry about losing this sale, Jasmine said, because Sterling Realty will never have access to my properties again. Pamela sucked in a sharp breath. Jasmine didn't wait for a response. She simply stepped around Pamela and walked toward the front doors, her heels clicking against the marble, each step a reminder of the power shift that had just taken place. Pamela stood there, stunned, realizing that this wasn't just about one lost sale. This was the end of everything she had worked for. And the worst part? She had done it to herself. The next day, Jasmine returned to the Kensington Drive estate. This time, she wasn't asking for permission to see it. This time, it belonged to her. She stepped through the massive double doors, taking in the grand foyer, the sweeping staircase, the floor-to-ceiling windows that showcased a view she had been denied just days ago. And this time, no one told her she didn't belong. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from her assistant. Congratulations, boss. The Sterling Realty contract has officially been terminated. Also, your new real estate team is ready for introductions whenever you are. Jasmine smiled. She walked toward the floor-to-ceiling windows, gazing out at the landscape that stretched before her, the landscape they tried to keep her from. Now it was hers. And the next time a woman like her walked into an office looking for luxury homes, she would make sure they never had to ask twice. Because this time, the doors would be wide open.